Are you tired of always being the one who texts first? Constantly checking your phone, wondering if he'll ever initiate a conversation? Stop right there. The chase ends tonight. What you do at 10 p.m. could change everything about your relationship dynamic. This isn't about playing games, it's about psychology, timing, and creating the space for him to step up. Most women make critical mistakes in their texting habits that push men away without realizing it. The truth is, men respond to certain triggers that most dating advice completely misses. I discovered this 10 p.m. technique after years of research into male psychology and communication patterns. The results speak for themselves. Women who use this approach see dramatic changes in how quickly and eagerly men reach out to them. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding how attraction works and positioning yourself in a way that makes him want to pursue you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do at 10 p.m. to flip the script completely. The days of waiting by your phone are over. Get ready to be the one receiving those first texts instead of always sending them. You send the first text, then another. Soon it becomes a pattern. He responds, but rarely initiates. This cycle has become so familiar, you barely notice it anymore. Behind this pattern lies a fundamental truth about human behavior. We value what we pursue. When you're always the one reaching out first, you inadvertently signal that you're doing the pursuing. This shifts the entire dynamic of your interaction. Men become less responsive when they don't feel the need to chase. It's not about games, it's about basic psychology. A man who doesn't have to work for your attention often places less value on it. Constant availability creates predictability. When he knows you'll text him good morning, ask about his day, or check in during the evening, there's no mystery, no anticipation, no reason for him to wonder what you're doing or thinking about. Chasing behavior sets up an unbalanced relationship from the start. One person pursues while the other receives. Over time, this creates resentment, anxiety, and frustration for the pursuer. You find yourself analyzing his responses, waiting for his texts, and planning your day around potential interactions. This imbalance affects your self-esteem. Each unanswered message or delayed response reinforces subconscious beliefs about your worth in the relationship. You start to question yourself instead of questioning the dynamic. Digital communication has made this problem worse. Read receipts, online status indicators, and typing notifications create a false sense of connection and expectation. You can see he's online reading your messages, yet not responding right away. Breaking free from this pattern requires understanding what's happening beneath the surface. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about establishing healthy boundaries that foster mutual respect and interest. When you're constantly initiating contact, you deny him the opportunity to pursue you. Men are naturally driven to chase what they want. By always texting first, you remove his chance to experience the satisfaction of winning your attention. This pattern doesn't change overnight, but tonight at 10 p.m., you'll implement a strategy that begins shifting this dynamic in your favor. Men are wired differently when it comes to communication and pursuit. This isn't about stereotypes, it's about ingrained psychological patterns that influence how they text and respond. Men naturally value what they work for. This applies to career goals, personal achievements, and yes, relationships. When something comes too easily without effort, it creates less dopamine response in the male brain. That chemical hit of satisfaction becomes muted when there's no challenge involved. Pursuit triggers something primal in male psychology. It activates reward centers that make the eventual connection feel more satisfying. When he sends that first text and receives your response, his brain registers it as a small win. These micro victories build anticipation and desire. Studies show men actually experience greater satisfaction in relationships where they initially pursued their partner. This doesn't mean playing manipulative games. It means understanding that effort and investment create psychological commitment. Digital communication has complicated these natural patterns. Men today are bombarded with notifications, messages, emails, and social media alerts. Their attention is constantly fragmented across platforms and people. Your text becomes just another ping in an overwhelming digital landscape. This constant connectivity has created a paradox. While it's easier than ever to reach someone, it's harder to truly capture their focused attention. Men, especially, tend to compartmentalize their focus, making it difficult to prioritize romantic text exchanges amid work messages and friend group chats. Attention has become the scarcest resource in the digital age. When you're always initiating contact, you're fighting an uphill battle against algorithm designed apps and endless content competing for his focus. Dating apps have further complicated matters by creating an illusion of endless options. This abundance mindset makes many men less invested in nurturing individual connections. Why put in effort when another match is just a swipe away? Men often retreat from text conversations that feel demanding or pressured. They seek spaces where communication feels like a choice rather than an obligation. This is why timing and approach matter so much when it comes to getting him to text first. Evening transforms communication in subtle but powerful ways. As day transitions to night, psychological barriers naturally lower, creating unique opportunities for deeper connection. 10 p.m. marks a critical window in daily rhythms. Work pressures have faded. Dinner is finished. For single men, this often becomes a moment of unwinding and reflection. Daily responsibilities no longer demand immediate attention, allowing space for emotional connection. Brain chemistry shifts during evening hours. Cortisol levels naturally decline while oxytocin potential increases. This hormonal cocktail creates an ideal environment for forming bonds and feeling closer to someone. Men become more receptive to emotional content they might brush past during busy daytime hours. Evening texts arrive when men are physiologically primed for personal connection rather than professional tasks. Their mindset has shifted from productivity to receptivity. Studies indicate decision-making changes in evening hours, becoming less analytical and more intuitive. Digital usage patterns reveal telling insights. Data shows peak romantic messaging occurs between 9:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. During this window, response rates improve dramatically compared to daytime hours. Messages sent at 10 p.m. specifically show higher engagement metrics than those sent earlier or later. Evening communication carries subtle intimacy without being explicitly sexual. This timing suggests closeness while maintaining appropriate boundaries. It sits in that perfect middle ground between casual afternoon check ins and late night messages that might seem too forward. 10 p.m. texts feel prioritized rather than squeezed between activities. When someone reaches out during prime evening relaxation time, it signals importance. Men recognize this subconsciously and value these interactions differently than daytime exchanges. Night creates psychological space for vulnerability. Something about darkness has always made sharing feelings easier. This phenomenon translates directly to digital communication, where evening messages often prompt more authentic responses. Practically speaking, evening communication allows for longer exchanges. Unlike daytime texts that compete with meetings and responsibilities, evening conversations can unfold without constant interruptions. This creates momentum that makes him more likely to initiate future contact. Neuroscience research confirms evening hours activate parts of the brain associated with emotional connection and relationship bonding. Messages received during this time literally process differently in the male brain compared to identical content received during daylight hours. Mystery captivates the human mind in ways constant presence never will. When someone knows exactly where to find you and what you're doing at all times, fascination fades. Brain studies confirm this. Predictable stimuli quickly become background noise while intermittent presence keeps neural pathways activated and engaged. Men especially respond to slight unpredictability, not in manipulative ways, but in the natural rhythm of someone living a full, independent life. When you're constantly available, texting back immediately, planning your schedule around his convenience, something vital disappears from the attraction equation. Space creates necessary tension that builds attraction. This isn't about playing games or being deliberately distant, it's about maintaining healthy separation between two individuals. Without this space, relationships quickly become codependent rather than interdependent. Boundaries signal self respect. When you set limits around your availability, you communicate something powerful. Your time has value. This subtle shift changes how he perceives interactions with you. Each conversation becomes an opportunity rather than an expectation. Implementing practical boundaries might mean not responding to texts during certain hours when you're focused on work, self care, or friends. It means occasionally being genuinely unavailable because you're living your life, not strategically ignoring messages. Healthy boundaries require consistency. Sporadically enforcing limits only creates confusion. Clear patterns help establish respect without explicit conversations about rules. He'll naturally adjust to this rhythm when it's maintained with confidence. Social media compounds availability issues, constant posting, story updates, and online status indicators eliminate natural mystery. Consider scaling back digital presence to create space for curiosity to develop. What isn't shared becomes intriguing. Psychological distance often increases desire. This phenomenon explains why long distance relationships can maintain intense emotional connection despite physical separation. Limited availability creates similar effects even when you're geographically close. Scarcity principles apply to attention and time. When something is abundant and easily accessed, its perceived value diminishes. This fundamental principle affects how he values your communication and presence. Men pursue what seems just slightly out of reach, not impossible to attain, but requiring genuine effort and attention. Finding this balance creates the perfect conditions for him to initiate contact rather than passively responding to yours. Now, for what you're actually going to do at 10 p.m. This isn't about sending a generic hey or what's up text. Those messages require minimal effort to respond to and do nothing to spark genuine interest or curiosity. Instead, send something that opens a door without walking through it completely. Share a brief moment from your day that was interesting, funny, or made you think of him, but don't explain it fully. Just saw something that reminded me of our conversation about Italian food. Then stop. No follow-up explanation. Avoid asking direct questions that put pressure on him to respond. Questions create obligation rather than desire. Replace, "How was your day?" with, "Had such a strange encounter at work today." This statement naturally makes him wonder what happened without explicitly demanding a response. Messages that hint at activities work powerfully. Taking a break from this interesting book I started suggests you're engaged in your own life while creating an opening for him to ask which book. This formula balances independence with invitation. Never send multiple texts if he doesn't respond immediately. Multiple messages signal anxiety and undermine the casual confidence that makes this approach effective. One thoughtful message at the strategic 10 p.m. window is infinitely more powerful than a stream of texts. Emotional triggers work better than logical content at this time of night. Reference shared experiences or inside jokes that create emotional resonance. These touch points activate deeper connection than fact-based exchanges about schedules or plans. Keep messages under 2 sentences. Brevity creates intrigue. Long paragraphs feel demanding of time and attention, while short messages respect his space while piquing interest. They also leave room for his imagination to fill in gaps. Timing matters within the 10 p.m. window. Ideally, send your message between 9:45 and 10:15 p.m. Late enough to hit that psychological sweet spot, but not so late it seems like a booty call or desperate attempt at connection. Specific words increase response rates dramatically. Research shows messages containing "remember when we," "thinking about," or "curious" generate nearly 40% more replies than generic greetings. These phrases subtly invite him into a shared mental space without demanding immediate action. Building anticipation doesn't start at 10 p.m., it begins with small actions throughout the day that plant seeds in his mind. These micro-connections create a foundation that makes your evening message more impactful and anticipated. Strategic social media activity creates subtle presence without direct contact. Posting a photo related to something he's interested in sends a signal without targeting him specifically. This indirect approach registers in his awareness while maintaining healthy space. Brief, light morning interactions set the stage for evening connection. A quick comment on something topical or sharing a link related to his interests creates a touch point without starting a lengthy conversation. These small gestures register as thoughtful rather than demanding. Voice notes work remarkably well as anticipation builders. Short audio messages have intimacy that text lacks while being less intrusive than calls. Hearing your voice triggers stronger emotional response than written words alone, creating a sensory memory that lingers. Mention plans offhandedly that sound intriguing but don't elaborate fully. Can't wait to try that new place tomorrow. Creates curiosity about where you're going and with whom. This plants a question in his mind that may prompt him to reach out later. Physical world connections sometimes work better than digital ones. If possible, leaving something small at his place, a book you mentioned, a snack he enjoys, creates a tangible reminder of your presence that triggers thoughts of you throughout the day. Sensory associations build powerful anticipation. Mentioning a song, scent, or taste that connects to a shared experience activates memory pathways that continue working subconsciously long after the initial mention. Scarcity of information creates mental engagement. When you share partial details about something interesting in your life, his brain naturally works to fill in the gaps. This cognitive process keeps you in his thoughts far longer than complete information would. Time bound references create anticipation frameworks. Mentioning later tonight or this evening without specifics seeds expectations about potential communication. These temporal markers create natural windows where he becomes more receptive to contact. Psychological research confirms that anticipation often generates more pleasure than the event itself. By creating small moments of connection throughout the day, you're building neural pathways that make his brain more receptive to your 10 p.m. message and more likely to respond with enthusiasm. Consistency builds trust while predictability kills attraction. This crucial distinction explains why some communication styles maintain interest while others quickly grow stale. Men respond to reliable patterns that still contain elements of surprise. Routine provides essential security in relationships. Knowing generally when and how you communicate creates comfortable expectations. Without this foundation, interactions feel chaotic and anxiety producing. Men particularly value knowing they can count on certain aspects of connection. Predictability, however, extinguishes curiosity. When every interaction follows an identical script, same questions, same responses, same timing, the brain stops registering these exchanges as noteworthy. Neural pathways become desensitized to repetitive stimuli. Introducing calibrated unpredictability keeps engagement active. This might mean occasionally shifting communication platforms, a voice message instead of text, a photo instead of words. These variations prevent habituation while maintaining reliable connection. Studies in behavioral psychology confirm that intermittent reinforcement creates stronger attachment than constant reinforcement. Applied to texting, this means occasional pattern breaks actually strengthen overall communication patterns rather than disrupting them. Balanced communication follows rhythms rather than rigid schedules. Natural ebbs and flows feel authentic while still providing structure. This organic pattern mirrors how in-person relationships develop, with periods of closeness followed by comfortable space. Varying message content while maintaining consistent timing works effectively. Your 10 p.m. communication window remains stable, but what you share within that window changes. This creates anticipated connection with refreshing content. Mixing initiating with responding preserves equality in the relationship. While this strategy helps him start texting first more often, you shouldn't completely stop initiating. Complete reversal feels like withdrawal rather than healthy balance. People confuse consistency with frequency. Meaningful connection twice weekly often creates stronger bonds than daily shallow exchanges. Quality and engagement matter more than constant contact. Surprising elements should comprise roughly 20% of your communication pattern. This ratio provides enough novelty to maintain interest without creating instability. These surprises might include unexpected topics, sharing something vulnerable, or switching communication styles. Mixed reinforcement schedules work similarly in dating as they do in other areas of psychology. When responses sometimes come quickly and sometimes with delay, interest remains heightened compared to perfectly predictable response patterns. Genuine independence creates magnetic attraction that no texting strategy can replicate. When life fills with meaningful activities, relationships, and pursuits, this authentic engagement fundamentally changes how he perceives and responds to you. Men instinctively recognize and respect passion for life. Someone actively engaged in personal growth creative pursuits, or meaningful work projects an energy that draws others naturally. This attraction happens effortlessly because it stems from authentic enthusiasm rather than strategic behavior. Independence preserves polarity in relationships. When you maintain separate interests and social connections, you create natural space that allows attraction to breathe and develop. Merging completely into someone else's world eliminates the exciting tension that fuels romantic interest. Self value directly influences how others value you. This psychological principle applies universally across relationships. When you clearly prioritize your well being, time, and interests, you establish a subconscious benchmark for how others should treat you. Focus on personal goals correlates directly with increased romantic interest from partners. Studies consistently show that individuals actively pursuing their own objectives become more attractive to current and potential partners. Achievement oriented behavior signals confidence and capability. Independence creates natural scarcity without manipulation. When genuinely engaged in a full life, your time becomes legitimately limited. This authentic limitation increases your perceived value without resorting to playing hard to get. Boundaries flow naturally from genuine self focus. When prioritizing personal growth and well being, saying no to low value interactions happens organically. These authentic boundaries feel different from artificial rules and generate respect rather than resistance. Men unconsciously test for independence early in relationships. They watch for signs of excessive accommodation or identity compromise. Maintaining personal priorities during dating communicates self respect. That becomes the foundation for mutual respect. Self worth issues reveal themselves subtly through communication patterns. Constant checking in, seeking validation, or anxious texting signals insecurity regardless of message content. These behaviors trigger protective distance rather than increased interest. Focusing on personal growth creates fascinating conversation material. Pursuing interest generates experiences worth sharing. These authentic stories naturally spark curiosity and engagement, eliminating the need for contrived conversation starters. Tonight at 10 p.m., you have a choice. Continue the same patterns that keep you chasing, or implement this simple strategy that shifts the entire dynamic. This small change creates ripple effects that transform how he sees you and responds to you. Men value what they pursue. Creating the right conditions for pursuit isn't manipulation, it's understanding psychology and applying it with integrity. When he texts first, the conversation starts on different terms with different energy. This approach works because it aligns with fundamental human psychology. It creates space for desire to develop naturally while maintaining your dignity and self respect. It positions you as someone worth pursuing rather than someone doing the pursuing. Start tonight. Send that perfectly crafted 10 p.m. message. Then put your phone down. Focus on yourself, your sleep, your peace. Let him wonder, let him reach out, let him step into his natural role. The chase is over because you're no longer participating in it. Instead, you're creating an invitation for real connection based on mutual interest and effort. If this video helped you understand male psychology and texting patterns, hit that like button now. Subscribe to our channel for more insights that transform your dating life without changing who you are.